Last night I once again had the pleasure of working sound for a band, and it was a really neat party. It was out in the backyard of a beautiful home down in Dallas off of Swiss Avenue, and the home itself was gorgeous. The one next door though was the one that caught my attention because it had all this great architectural detail on it, and I just sat there the whole time looking at that. But they'd set up a tent in the backyard, and of course the weather was absolutely gorgeous. And the music's playing, and I just love the music, and great food. They had the mint juleps because it was a derby party. It was a Kentucky Derby party. And so they had the mint juleps and then several other kind of Kentucky bourbon-based drinks. And then they had one that if I would have found it earlier, I probably would have forgotten all of the warnings about blood sugar and all of this stuff, because it was a bourbon pecan milkshake, and they brought them out little shot glasses, and just to kind of let you taste them. Now you could go to the bar and get the big. I had a little shot glass, and it was absolutely amazing. People were dressed up in their seersucker suits, all the guys were, and then the ladies had on the hats, and they even had a competition, and the hat that won literally looked like it was beautiful, but it looked like the size of a tent. I could have camped under it. It was huge. They had some little kids running around, with their little suits on. It was really fun. And I noticed that as we were, as I was kind of walking around checking sound, because I'll walk around the place as the crowd changes, as the wind shifts directions, things like that. I kind of step out to make sure that the sound from the band is what I think it should be. And I noticed when I would go out and check that even in all of this festivity, all of this fun, all of this incredible food, people were talking about the tragedies of the world. They were talking about Nepal, the earthquake. They were talking about Baltimore with the riots and everything. The one that I heard at one of the breaks that almost got me going the same direction was B.B. King and his health. He's one of my musical heroes, and I'm very fortunate to have met him on a few occasions, and he's now in hospice care. And that about broke my heart. But anyway, I'm thinking about this and all this festive atmosphere. How is it that people go here? What's the purpose? What's going on? And what I realized is that there is a purpose to tuning into that when we do it from a place of love, when we do it from oneness with God, when we do it as an expression of God. The thing that I was seeing was the people were talking about it the way society teaches us to talk about things. They teach us to watch the news, buy into the sensationalism, and then have conversations around the event. As I was listening to that, I remembered, I think it's Friday, I saw an article that caught my attention, and it was a picture of a city in flames. It was at night, and the whole skyline was glowing orange and red. And they were talking about under the picture where the headlines were talking about the riots in Baltimore. It looks like Baltimore's on fire. You go on and read through the article and you realize that one of I believe they said it was Fox 4, I may be wrong about that, not Fox 4, but one of the Fox affiliates, not Fox 4. One of the Fox affiliates, I believe is what they said, posted this picture in all of their teasers leading into the newscast, and then used it while they were talking about the riots in Baltimore. The picture was taken from the Middle East in one of their riots, but they want you to believe that Baltimore is there, because when you believe that Baltimore is on fire, you tune in to find out more about what's going on. Their ratings go up. The way they tell their stories, the ratings, it's all about boosting their ratings. So, I once again jumped on my soapbox about ignoring the news. Ignore the news coverage. Okay? There is a purpose, we're going to get to it in a moment, about tuning in and knowing what's going on. But you have to look at the truth. You cannot buy into what's coming out of people's mouths on the news, on the radio, or in print when they are solely looking to have rating increases. Okay? You just got to be careful about where you're taking your news in. The other story, of course, was Nepal, and it's very easy, especially for people like us that have big hearts and we have concern for other people, we care about other people. It's very easy for us to fall into the feeling sorry for, the oh, how horrible is the situation where 7,000 people were killed and more than double that injured. It's very hard not to have sadness. That's not doing them any good. And to see the horror, as most people would define it, that's going on in the riots is not doing anybody any good. Society tells us that we need to go over here and we need to feel sorry for the people in Nepal. We need to go over here with our guns blazing and deal with the riots in Baltimore. That's the common thread. You know, I heard somebody at the party say, well, if that happened here, we just go down there and wipe it out. It's Texas. Sorry, folks. We're not a bunch of idiots here in Texas. We wouldn't go just wipe them out. And it would do no good. It would simply make us, as the people wiping them out, worse than the people who are doing whatever they're doing, the looting and the rioting. You know, we learn in many things that we read that even that is an expression of God. Every act is an attempt to find peace. Now, rioting may not be my way of going to find peace. But if the person rioting is doing it because they think it's going to teach a lesson that's going to lead to peace, while I don't condone that act of violence, I understand that they're trying to find peace. That looting, if I go grab this big TV and I run it home and set it up, I'm going to have peace because I'm going to be able to sit there and watch this thing. You know, I may not condone that act. I understand how they are trying to find peace. They may not even know it. They might. I think it's the course of love that we're reading talks about every act is an act towards peace, towards love. Now, we have choices. We can look at all of these acts and we can feel the sadness, we can feel the fear, we can feel the anger, we can feel the sadness. All of these are fear-based feelings, and it does not put any kind of energy that helps into the situations themselves. What we can do is we send our love. Whether we go over and start hugging people, or we sit right here where we are and we say a silent prayer sending love. And it's not a prayer, oh God, please help. It's a prayer of, I surround you with light and love. I know that you are expressions of God, and I see that in you. And you're sending the positive energy. You're sending the love into that situation. We talked about it Wednesday night, but I'll repeat it again here. I saw a beautiful article about this exact thing. There was a town in Germany, or is a town in Germany, that every year is overtaken by neo-Nazis that come in and do a parade to recruit members into their organization and raise money into their organization. They basically take this town over, and the town has tried to fight them legally. They've tried to fight them physically. They've tried everything that they could think of to fight these people off. And every time they fought, it was as if it empowered the neo-Nazi group because they were thriving off of it. The town got smart, and they started a fundraiser of their own. Didn't tell the neo-Nazi group. All they did was they had some well-placed signs around town. So you've seen these things, like especially for cancer. You walk a mile and you have people that donate money to your cause, and at the end all this money's going to the cancer. The town put together a drive just like this that raised money to help people get out of the neo-Nazi group, because once you're in, you're stuck. And they had these signs placed up. Well, this march began, and they were, I think that I read that by the time they were a half a mile into it, they had realized that every step they took was raising money to get people out of their organization. And I absolutely loved it, because that was a way they didn't fight it anymore. They showed love and helped people find a way out. When we show love and we send love to Nepal, people will feel it. You know, after service last week, we talked about the 100 monkey theory. I think Linda brought it up. The 100 monkey theory is very simple. One monkey went to the shore and washed his fruit. I think it's coconuts or whatever they were eating. He was washing it off, and then he would eat it. And another monkey saw it, and he started doing it. And another. And now there's some scientists that are observing these monkeys, and they see this behavior happening. When the 100th monkey started that behavior, this thing jumped to another island, and monkeys on that island started doing it. It becomes a universal consciousness. It becomes an energy. The same thing here. When enough people send love to Nepal, Nepal's going to feel it. And Nepal's going to be able to look at this situation as something they can learn and grow from, as something that they can build off of, as something to bring them together in love. You know, there's no telling what God consciousness is going to happen over there. There's no telling what this leads to. If we send enough good into it, good's going to come from it. You know, what we believe is what's going to happen. If they're believing that only pain and suffering can come from that, that's all they're going to get. If they believe good comes from that, that's what they're going to get. You know, everything happens for a reason, and I don't pretend to know the reasons. Everything that happens is an expression of God. And I don't think there's a God sitting up here on a cloud somewhere saying, okay, we need to wipe this out and see what happens. I don't think that's going on. I think that everything is an expression of God and has the opportunity to grow from it. The biosphere is a great example. If you remember back, was that the 70s or 80s that the biosphere was built out in the desert? And it was a self-contained environment. And they had the trees growing, and the trees were providing the oxygen. They had, you know, all of the elements going on in there so that it was creating its own water and all this. But they thought about everything that happens out in the world and decided, okay, let's see, wind usually tears stuff up, so we're not going to mess with wind. We're going to do... Well, because there was no wind, the trees grew like they normally did, but they had no root system because there was nothing testing them and causing them to strengthen their root system. So the trees would get full size and they'd fall over. They'd fall over, they couldn't create oxygen. The biosphere failed, except that they learned about it. And in Biosphere 2, they did something to rectify the wind situation. A tree has to have wind to grow. Otherwise, it just falls over. Because every time the wind blows, the root system strengthens and grow deeper. Things happen and we can strengthen from it. Things happen that are not always pleasant. We are one with God. We do not have to stay in the unpleasantness. We do not have to stay in the miserable. We do not have to stay in the pain and the hurt. We can choose love. We can choose goodness. We can choose growth and move through it. You were talking about, you did some tapping on standing out. Well, what this whole thing is about is living with conviction of the heart. I told you earlier that I was riding the mower, and then once again another message, the message kind of started developing there. Kenny Loggins has a beautiful song called Conviction of the Heart. And that's what kind of started this whole process, and I was going to talk just about that until I heard the conversations around the table last night. But when we live with conviction of the heart, we live with the knowing and the understanding and the belief that we are one with God. And when we are one with God, there is no stopping us. There is no reason that we have to live in pain and fear. We can face any situation and stand tall and show the truth of us. I wanted to share with you some of the words of this song and why it stands out to me so much. It begins by asking, first sentence, where are the dreams we once had? And as adults, we kind of have forgotten about some of those dreams we had as kids. And I read somewhere that growing up is the process of unlearning. We kind of forget how to live like children. And when we have to have conviction of the heart, you have to bring some of that childlike enthusiasm back. You have to start believing in those dreams again. You have to bring them back. It's time. There's no time like right now to bring back whatever dreams you might have let go of. You know, maybe you need to tweak them a little bit. Maybe you need to totally change them, but bring them back so they start sparking and inspiring something else. It talks about what promises got caught on the tips of our tongue and we couldn't complete them and follow through. What promises have you made to yourself about standing tall and living to your fullest potential have you not fulfilled? Just bring those back and step through. It's a beautiful song, and I actually brought it so we can listen to it, you know, during our break if you care to. But the song wraps it all up by talking about one with earth, one with the sky, one with everything in life. That song is just a beautiful example of how we can live. We can get our childlike enthusiasm back. We can become, I mean, we already are one with earth and sky and everything in life, but we can remember that. We can live that. We can live with conviction of our heart. And then I want to end today with two quotes that talk about standing up and showing that you truly do have the power and the ability to change the course of this world. And the first one is from Nelson Mandela. And his quote is, "There is no passion to be found playing small, in settling for a life that is less than you are capable of living." In other words, live big. Live big. Do not live small. It serves no purpose. You are expressions of God. You can make a difference in this world by sharing love, by sending love. We don't have to sit here and cry over everything that's going on in this world. We don't have to sit here and feel bad about everything that's going on in this world. We can show compassion by sending love into it. And then the second quote I brought up on Wednesday night was from Marianne Williamson. This is my favorite quote of all times, I do believe. "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others." And I can say nothing more to enhance that. That's perfect.